us. Now, 30 years ago today, in fact, a group of South African climbers embarked on a historic mission, the country's first attempt to summit Mount Everest. Among them was then 25-year-old Deshun Deysel, the youngest member of the expedition and the only black woman on that team. But the journey became one of triumph and tragedy. The harsh conditions claimed the life of a fellow climber, shaking the nation and prompting a personal call from President Nelson Mandela in support after that devastating loss. Well, 3 decades later, Deshun is reflecting on that historic climb, and she joins us now in studio here on this South African morning on ENCA and ETV. Deshun, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dan.
It's so lovely to see you in person after a long time.
A long time.
But 30 years later, when you reflect back, I mean, what stands out most vividly for you about that South African Everest expedition?
You know, thanks, Dan. I think what happened for us 30 years ago is that we had the sprinkling of Madiba magic on us. And the thing that stands out for me is just how well South African teams, out of absolutely nowhere, could start doing things like winning the Webb Ellis Trophy and the CAF, the Africa Cup of Nations. And we just were able to bounce into the world with this amazing sense of hope and promise and potential. And I think for us as the mountaineers, we thought, how can we harness that and show South Africans that even Mount Everest is not out of bounds for South Africans?
Yeah, I mean, I was privileged at the time because I was working on Radio 702's morning show with John Robbie, one of those few media people who were able to talk to you when you were up there interviewing you and getting a sense of what was happening. Because for many of us, speaking for myself coming from Soweto, mountain climbing was for special people. It was not a normal kind of sport. So it was in awe when we were looking at you. And you were the only black woman on that. Yeah. You're very young. You're the youngest member of that team. I was
at that stage one of the youngest people to attempt Mount Everest. Yeah.
What pressures or expectations did you carry up that?
I didn't.
Everest?
I was just having a great time. I thought this is the adventure of a lifetime. If I never ever get to do it again, I need to grab as much of the experience as I possibly can. And of course that's the catalyst, that got me climbing so many other mountains around the world. So it was just my lust for adventure, my sense of curiosity, and just all the things I loved about mountaineering.
You mountaineers want to do the 7 summits.
The 7 summits, yes.
Are you still on your road there?
I'm still on my road to the 7 summits.
You're still
climbing? Absolutely. There's, fortunately for climbing, there's no retirement age.
You can go, yes, you're quite right. But the South African expedition, while the country was watching, also suffered a tragedy. And it was a devastating loss. That disaster happened while you were on the mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that affect you personally and the team, emotionally, and just how you were dealing with that trek?
Yeah, as a team, it was our first expedition on the mountain as South Africans, but then also it was one of the most controversial seasons on the mountain because we had one massive storm that killed about 8 people in one night. At that time, I'd never experienced anything like that in my life before, and because of that, a lot of teams then left Everest, and we were still there, sitting with a flag that had still not made it to the top of the mountain. So, as a team, we had actually decided: are we going to leave like everyone else after this massive trauma, or are we going to just give it one more shot? And that's what we did. Actually, we gathered ourselves together, looked at our resources, whether we still had the wherewithal to keep going. And it was about the flag. We just realized that unless the flag makes it to the top, we don't really have a good story to tell South Africa.
There's a call that you received, you mountaineers,
yes,
that possibly also gave you more strength?
Yes, absolutely. So it's after we made the decision that we're going to take the flag as far as we can, that by the time we reached Camp 2, we just got this amazing phone call from out of nowhere. And I remember a guy from the American expedition, Dave Brashears, came over and he said, "Hey, you got Mandela on the phone." And it was those big old satellites, those brick phones. Yeah. And we couldn't believe it. The president called and he said to us that, the South Africans are behind you no matter which decision you take. It was a short phone call, but after that we thought, we actually can't let people down now. We've got to push as hard as we can. And of course, it's after
so
that
his
that
words
the flag
meant a
made
lot
it
for you
absolutely.
at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, you were first time on Mount Everest. You were with experienced climbers, the likes of Kathy O'Dowd and others. But there was also a member of the South African team, Bruce, I recall, who perished on the mountain. How far high did you go? Because I recall talking to you quite a lot on that satellite phone you're describing now when you were at base camp.
Yes, we spoke every day for quite a long period of time before Patrick Conroy came to join as the 702 broadcaster. But I got to 6,500 meters at that stage. I started climbing quite late in the season, so there was no time for me to do all the rotations. It's a long story, but it's Bruce Herod actually that after he summited the mountain, on his way back down, was not able to get up. He was just tired, sat down. He told his Sherpa to keep climbing and to leave him alone because of the pace that he was climbing at. So sadly, Bruce sat down and he just never got up again.
Yeah. So how do you think, if you look back now 30 years on, Deshun, that first South African Everest expedition changed opportunities and representation in mountaineering for younger generations and particularly black people?
The thing that excites me the most actually is there was a time when I was the only one. You know, I would literally be on a mountain and people would kind of have this reaction to me. and then years on, I can now look back and count a number of, I would say, black climbers, female climbers, young climbers. I'm not saying that I'm the person who started that, but it's really satisfying to see that as a young mountaineer, a black female mountaineer, there was a way to actually showcase that it can be done.
Yeah, I mean, your story was in many households, including my own households. I've got 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys. One of the young ladies was sort of hearing your story. Over the years, became involved in the Trek for Mandela project.
Yes.
Sina got involved there, and 3 years ago she summited Kilimanjaro.
Excellent.
So you've got other people. Then we've got the Sarai Kumalos of this world. I mean, I've also spoken to her as well. She's been to the top of Mount
she's
Everest,
done amazing
others,
stuff. Yeah.
And you are still on that journey. It's an inspirational story at the time in 1996 where South Africa was reclaiming its place in the world of nations, is that we deserve here, we are here. The Springboks, as you said, winning the 1995 Rugby World Cup, Bafana winning the Cup of Nations in 1996, and in the middle, that defining moment of yours. When you look at it like that in today's South Africa, how does it make you feel? What message should people be deriving out of the 30-year-old story?
I think the biggest message I can give people is that sport has the power to change the world. And I think specifically sport has the power to change South Africa. And, you know, I travel this country because of my work with the Laureate Sport for Good Foundation. And we see such amazing talent. We see amazing potential in all variety of sports. And I just think if we want to get something right, we should really focus ourselves on how to harness that, the energy, the potential, the talent, and bring it into even better South African sports, representation. Okay,
Deshun, thank you very much for taking the time to come here to our studios to reflect back 30 years ago. And good luck with the work you're doing with the Laureate Sports for Good Foundation.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you. That's Deshun Deysel, mountaineer and also an ambassador of Laureate Sports for Good Foundation. We're heading towards 8 o'clock. We'll bring you the latest headlines at the top of it. Stay with us.